officer was shot in the leg. We have live team coverage of this breaking story from the hospital and from the scene. We begin now with Dave Spencer at Sinai Grace. And Dave, such a tragic night. Do we know how the officer is doing who was shot in the leg?
Yeah, the one officer that was injured, we know he was taken here in serious condition, but at this point, he is alert, he is moving around. Unfortunately, I can't say the same for a person who has served the department for 18 years. He was shot with a single bullet from a high-powered rifle, according to the chief, in the neck, and he succumbed to his injuries, killed in the line of duty tonight around 7 o'clock, while he and that same partner were responding to a scene on the west side. And another emotional scene that I want to talk about right now was what we saw as they poured into the hospital here. 275 officers by the chief's count, responding from all over the city. Those are officers that are on duty. Those are officers that were off duty that heard about that, all to be by the side of their fallen brother, his family, and the officer that was fighting for his life and is now hopefully going to recover from this. This all stemmed from a response that they get every day, a domestic call, a home invasion in progress. When they got to the scene, they realized that he was armed and he was barricaded in the house. They go inside, their weapons drawn, but he fired first, that suspect, hitting the one officer, as I mentioned, in the neck and killing him, hitting the other officer in the leg, and while his backup responded, returned fire, hitting that suspect. That suspect was also taken here to Sinai Grace after he was able to get away for a short time while they tended to the officers on scene. They did apprehend him shortly after that, and again, taken here. The chief did speak about a lengthy criminal history on this suspect that include weapon charges and just being released from parole. And then we watched a very somber and emotional moment as the mayor and chief walked side by side to give us the grim news that an officer had given the ultimate sacrifice tonight. Take a listen.
Our heart and prayers go out to his family, certainly our community, and all of the officers in the Detroit Police Department. He really is a hero. He fought a good fight.
We lost a hero. These nights are the worst part of the job for the chief and me, and I think it's a night for Detroiters to reflect on what these police officers mean to us. They're just on a shift, and all of a sudden, they're in a life and death situation.
The chief relaying that news just moments after he said he had to address the 275 officers. He said there were so many of them, he had to do it twice in groups and tell them the grim news that they had lost one of their own, and many of them are still here this evening. And then he said he had the unenviable task of having to tell the family of that 18-year veteran of the force that he is no longer with us, and then coming out to tell us that obviously very fresh in the minds of everyone right now. They're not releasing his name. They say that'll come in due time. A lot to process. Some of these officers that were here had to then go back on the shift. They have a job to do, and who knows what their next call would be with this on their mind. Your thoughts go out to them, and you hope that they could fulfill their duties tonight with heavy hearts, as we all do here at the station and beyond in the city of Detroit. Much more to talk about in terms of what happened leading up to the shooting. Jessica will have more on that. I'll throw it back to you guys in the studio now.
Well, certainly, Dave, our hearts go out to everybody impacted by this, the family of the officers, and of course the family at the Detroit Police Department. But you mentioned that the suspect was just released from parole. Obviously very troubling. Do we know any more details about that?
Yeah, we don't know too much about his criminal history because they haven't released his name either. They did say that they think he knew the people that he was targeting, and that the officers did a tremendous job of getting those people out of harm's way, putting themselves, obviously, in harm's way in doing so. So courageous efforts on all fronts, and they tell us that they're not looking for anyone else at the moment. They think they have everything secured.
All right, Dave, thank you for that sad update.
Meanwhile, Fox News' Jessica Duback continues our team coverage tonight. She's live on the scene. Jessica.
That sadness felt at the hospital extends here, where detectives are now investigating the death of one of their own. We're off of Wyoming near 8 Mile. The scene behind me, they're zeroing in on this house in the corner where these officers were shot. I want to take you back to about 7 o'clock. We got here as dozens and dozens of police cars were racing to this scene, extremely chaotic. As Dave mentioned, this shooter was hit, also shot, unable to get too far, arrested in a yard just a couple of blocks away. But this scene very different than most. Lots of officers still out here, but it's quiet, and you can feel their sadness tonight.
I heard 5 big gunshots. I knew it was somebody got shot, but I didn't know who.
2 officers down, both shot. That's the radio call causing a flood of scout cars to this West Side Detroit neighborhood. One officer shot in the leg. He's okay. The other in the neck. That officer, an 18-year veteran of the force, died from his injuries. Around 7 Wednesday, officers were initially called to a home off Wyoming near Chippewa to investigate a home invasion. An armed man broke into a house and wouldn't leave. Police say they think he was there looking for his girlfriend. 4 DPD officers went inside to clear the house and get him out. That's when he started shooting, hitting those officers. Another cop on scene fired back, injuring the shooter. He was able to run off, but not far.
I've never seen this many policemen in my life.
Within minutes, police flooded the area, blocking off roads, a helicopter overhead, and canine units searching for the shooter.
The police was telling people to keep driving it and told us to get in the house, and that's what I did.
The suspected shooter was tracked down quickly, located in a yard just a couple blocks from where the officers were shot. He was taken into police custody. Dozens of detectives now piecing together the details that led to the murder of one of their own. Taking a live look now where that officer, 2 officers were shot earlier today around 7 o'clock. Sadly, that 18-year veteran of the force was killed. It has cleared out quite a bit. Detectives still on scene trying to piece together what led up to this awful tragedy. We will continue to stay on top of this story in the coming days, but our thoughts with DPD tonight. Live on Detroit's West Side, Jessica Dupnack on The Edge.
Jessica, just to be clear, do we know if anybody else was inside the house at the time besides the shooter?
It does appear there were a couple of people inside the home when he initially broke in, but it does appear that those 4 officers that went inside were able to get the people out, and what they did was they cleared the first floor. The suspected shooter in the basement, there was a bit of a run-in somewhere along the road, that shooter firing first, but thankfully the people inside were out and out of harm's way. This could have been even more of a tragedy than it already is tonight.
Absolutely. All right, Jessica, thank you.